More than 115 aid groups are warning of mass starvation in Gaza. Major international agencies released a joint statement blaming Israel for restricting and delaying aid coming in. The Gaza Health Ministry says, which is run by Hamas, says a total of 111 people have died of hunger since the war started, including 10 people in the last 24 hours. Israel, though, denies limiting aid trucks coming into Gaza and says Hamas is stealing aid. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is releasing new video of a strike on its warehouse in Deir al-Balah. The video filmed by staff shows damage to the warehouse, but the WHO says it's expanding its services in Gaza just 2 days later. Foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge has the latest on all that. Tom, a lot to keep track of here, but let's start with this joint statement from aid organizations. Many of them say their own staff members are now starving. How is Israel responding to that?
Well, Israel is pushing back hard right now, and Israel is making a big effort in the face of very heavy criticism around the world and increasing evidence that on the ground in Gaza right now, the conditions are potentially the worst they've ever been. I mean, many aid agencies are describing them as exactly that. And there's just been a briefing from an Israeli government spokesman I've been listening to, Diane, and he's pushing back and saying, quote, "There is no famine in Gaza," says the Israeli government. He is calling the crisis, the food crisis in Gaza, a man-made shortage engineered by Hamas. So they are putting the blame on Hamas. They are saying that 4,000 aid trucks from the UN got into Gaza between the 19th and 20th of July. That's Saturday through to Tuesday. And they are saying that 700 aid trucks of aid worth of aid is sitting inside Gaza right now, waiting for the UN to pick them up and distribute them. So they are saying that there is a bottleneck. The Israeli government is trying to shift some of the blame onto the UN itself for what they say is a bottleneck. I mean, I think that aid agencies, having spoken to them extensively throughout the war, would argue that part of the reason they can't just quickly get the aid once it goes into Gaza and distribute it very quickly is because of the conflict itself. I mean, the Israeli military currently controls about 80% of the Gaza Strip. There is fighting, there are strikes. It isn't a very straightforward thing. And it's also the sense of chaos on the ground in Gaza. What we're seeing are critical levels of malnutrition, according to aid agencies. More and more very graphic images of malnourished children, reports that there isn't enough baby formula, there isn't enough food, there aren't enough of the basic food substances. And this, I think you've got to realize, is a long-term picture. This hasn't just happened over the last few weeks. This is the result of not only 21 months of war, but also earlier in the year, Israel basically implemented a full blockade on Gaza and nothing got into the Gaza Strip for 11 weeks. And then after that, in late May, they put in this new distribution system called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, backed by the US. That has been highly controversial, and there's been chaos around those aid distribution sites, and aid agencies say that is part of the problem too.
And Tom, the cover of Britain's Daily Express newspaper today says the situation in Gaza shames us all, and it shows a starving baby. I do want to warn viewers, this image is disturbing, but curious to hear your take. How significant is it for a paper like this to run an image like this, and is this kind of international pressure likely to make a difference?
Yeah, well, look, the Express is one of the most right-wing newspapers in the United Kingdom, so it is not a newspaper that I think anyone could accuse of in any way being a sympathizer with Hamas or anything like that. So I think it speaks volumes. And the image itself, I mean, we haven't just seen that one image, right? There are many images like that. Our team on the ground has spoken to a mother and filmed their young child who was clearly malnourished from the images. These are not isolated cases. And I think what we really should underline right now is we're now the second consecutive day we're getting figures from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, but aid agencies generally accept their figures and their information on casualties. And they are saying in the last 24 hours, 10 people have died of malnutrition-related illnesses, and that is after 15 in the previous 24 hours. So it does suggest that there is a trend right now. And again, this is a long-term picture. This has come after months and months of war and not enough aid getting into the Gaza Strip.
All right, foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge, thank you. And Med Global is one of those organizations that signed that joint statement warning about starvation in Gaza. The nonprofit focuses on providing health care to needy people around the world. And President and co-founder Dr. Zair Saloul is here now for more on that. Dr. Salul, thank you for coming on. What's your team seeing in Gaza right now when it comes to the need for food and aid?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. In the last 3 days, we had 5 children. Their names is Mohammed, Nahid, Zain, Juri, and Siwar, 3 months to 4.5 years, who died in the last 3 days because of severe acute malnutrition in our clinics in Gaza. And every child who dies is a painful a demonstration of the inability of the international community to provide aid to starving population. We're seeing rising rates of acute malnutrition, severe acute malnutrition. The number of children who are admitted to the hospital with this condition, which is an emergency because 50% of children, up to 50% of children with severe acute malnutrition can die because of low immunity, because of infection, because of heart failure, because of electrolytes imbalances, and hypoglycemia. The rates of acute malnutrition increased by 150% since the recent blockade. So we're seeing a rising number of children who are having complications admitted to the hospital and also dying because of severe acute malnutrition.
The statement says some aid workers themselves are also experiencing extreme hunger. Are you seeing that on your team?
Yes, I was speaking with our director, Dr. Salwa Al-Taibi. She lives in a semi-destroyed apartment in Gaza City with 17 members of her family. And she's telling me that they've been eating only lentil in the last 3 months. And even if they have money, and they do, they cannot buy anything in the market. Markets are closed and stores are depleted of basic necessities. Her husband spends 6 hours every day looking for a package of pasta. And her children also are starving. So, the problem with this, that there are food around Gaza. There's thousands of trucks, including our trucks, are waiting to get into Gaza. But because of this blockade, we're not able to get simple food, ready-to-use therapeutic food that is necessary to treat and reverse severe acute malnutrition in children to Gaza. And it is our responsibility to apply all pressure on the Israeli authorities to make sure that these border crossings are open.
Now, Israel denies limiting the number of aid trucks coming into Gaza and says over the past month, international organizations have delayed or failed to collect aid. An Israeli security official even says more than 900 aid trucks are waiting inside 2 Gaza crossings. So what is the process for Med Global to get supplies, and how often are you getting them?
Numbers actually talk the different picture than what the Israeli authorities are saying. The average number of trucks entering Gaza every day nowadays is about 25 trucks. Before the war started, it was about 500 trucks. Because of the famine, 1 out of 4 children in person in Gaza has the highest level of food insecurity. There's a need for about 1,000 trucks every day. Also, the distribution points of aid has been now limited to 4 sites because of the creation of the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It's not a humanitarian foundation to let people die when they are getting food. More than 800 people were killed while getting food. We are seeing flower massacre after flower massacre every day because of this. Before the creation of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, there were more than 400 distribution points to distribute food. That has been in existence for the past 70 years. Humanitarian aid is built on trust between the humanitarian workers and the population. And what we are creating right now with the Gaza Foundation is before disaster.
All right, co-founder and president of Med Global, Dr. Zair Salul. We appreciate your time today and the work you're doing, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.